Okay, people are starting to arrive, so we'll get started pretty soon. So hello everyone who is already here.
Hi, everyone.
Um, hey, we'll start in a few minutes. Just give a couple of minutes so people will arrive. Then, just one quick note: if you have questions, you can use the chat, and we'll answer the questions.
All right. Let me try the chat. Just send it test. Hmm. Okay. Nice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like the logo here on the top. It looks like it's something on my background.
Yeah, so people who are new, we did some in-person events this year. Now we're doing our first online event. So we're combining the 4 cities we manage for the Qlik Meetup. So we're combining Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Portland. Um, so it's hope we get enough people, so we'll continue to do this. We are already planning the next event after this. It will be, of course, after Qlik Connect, and we are also considering doing some like workshops, extra events, boot camps. It all depends on how many people we get engaged into these events. So now, before we begin, we'd like to hear from you. Um, where are you from? What are your expectations? Let's have a little chat before we begin today's session. And you can use the chat to answer questions. Let me try
Yes, if you
something
have any
here.
questions, just let us know. You can type in the chat.
Yeah.
We try to receive. We try to
Hmm.
respond later.
Exactly.
No, 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 no. Okay. Like that.
Okay. No. So anyone here from any of the, okay, do we have?
Hmm.
Okay, so we got a message from Viet. Can't wait to learn. All right, that's the idea. However, the meetup events, they are also interactive. So leave
Mhm.
your questions, your comments, while we presenting the content, and we'll interact, and for people in the 4 cities I mentioned, we do other in-person events this year, but we're trying to
Yes.
balance in-person and online events. So then we'll
Yes.
be
The idea is to have at least two in-person events and two online events. But events we're more flexible to add more content. So if we see the demand to add live events, we'll do more events. So, but in
yeah.
person will be two per year, and we try to do on every single city. So for us, me and Igor, it'll be 8 events. So it's a lot of things. Uh,
Yes.
but yeah, that's the
Mhm.
that's the idea.
And yeah, some travel, but it's fun. It's fun.
It's fun.
Yes, as long as people attend the events and we get like enough traction, then we'll continue to do this. So let me hear from other people where you talking from, and And again, we'll start in a couple of minutes.
Yes,
Just
let's give a
leave it some time people can arrive.
It's funny that we have a friend a coworker that's also called Viet. It's it's a coincidence.
Yeah,
It's from Mexico City.
all
Good.
right, so
We went to
Angel from
Vancouver.
Mexico City.
Yes.
Very good.
We know Mexico City. We went there maybe 2 or 3 times. Yeah, Vancouver, I never had a chance to go.
Vancouver. Okay, Mark from Vancouver. Very nice. So yeah, we almost lived in Mexico for 7 months, but that was like way back, 2007, I think. Yeah, but we mostly were in Puebla. But we went to Mexico City for meetings, maybe 2-3 times. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so people are joining, so I think we can get started.
All right.
All right. So, and again, folks, if you have questions, comments, leave in the chat and we'll interact with you. This will be more fun, more valuable if we, here, another continent, someone from Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil.
All right. So, if we make this more interactive, I think this will be more fun. So, let's get started then. So now officially, welcome everyone. This is our second meetup event this year, and we're doing this event for 4 of the Qlik meetup cities. So we're doing this for Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, and Portland. And also, we know that we have people from other locations, and you all welcome to join our online events. So as many people as we can host will be ideal. Today we'll talk about machine learning, but it's not just AutoML. It's a much broader topic than that. So we'll talk about AutoML. We'll talk about large language models. We'll talk about MLOps, which is a very, very important topic. You cannot have machine learning without MLOps. And also, this is a meetup event, so we'll talk about what's new in Qlik, and all of those topics. But this is aligned to what we are planning and executing in this meetup groups. So Mark Costa and I. So Mark Costa is presenting this with me. Say hi to everyone, Mark.
Hello.
So Mark Costa. We both work at IPC Global. Mark Costa is the director of data ops and DevOps. I am Igor Alcantara, director of data science education, also at IPC Global. And each year in our meetup groups, we have like a main theme for the year, and then all of the events they align to this theme. And the theme for this year, 2024, is, and we'll discuss what this is language-centric analytics. That's the main theme. So we talk about AutoML, but we talk about AutoML in the context of language as well. And we have demo, we have all of that prepared for you. And everything that we're talking about, it's considering that topic, not only that topic, but considering that topic as the main objective, right? Perfect. So go ahead, Mark.
No, just go ahead. Perfect.
So this is today's agenda. So we'll talk about what's new in Qlik, new since last time we met. So last time we have an event was in April. We had this in Atlanta and Dallas. And so we're talking about what is this concept of language-centric analytics. Is a brand new concept that we actually crafting, Mark Costa and I. We talk about large language models. How does it work? How does ChatGPT work? AutoML, of course, and MLOps and automation. So it's a long agenda. So it's not like a workshop, detailed workshop for each one of these topics, but it gives you enough information to understand what these are and the capabilities. So enough said. Mark, please take it away. Oh, actually, before that, just a special thanks to our sponsors. IPC Global, the company we work with, they sponsor and help us in many aspects, financially, logistically, etc. And Qlik, of course, this is an official Qlik Meetup group, so Qlik give us all of the support so we can make this happen.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to see what's new again since April 2024. So those are the new things that are happening within Qlik platform. Okay, so some of the new Qlik Cloud visualization improvements are now on Qlik Managed. So now what's happening is, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So now what's happening is the new release and the new changes are happening in Qlik Cloud, and then later it's being applied on Qlik Managed. Okay, good. So lots of those new things are now on Qlik On-Prem. On Qlik Cloud, we have the preloads app functionality. So this is kind of warm up the applications. This is in Qlik Managed, by the way. The preload apps just to put everything in memory, like a warm up of the application. So the users, when they first open the app, is not putting everything in memory from the beginning. So it's kind of just a cache warm up. We have the cyclic dimensions. This was very expected change, and it's an old demand for Qlik Sense and Qlik Cloud.
Mark, funny that, sorry to interrupt, but those two that you just mentioned, there were things that we have in Qlik View, and for the folks who started in Qlik View like we did, and
yes.
we really missed in Qlik Sense, and now they're available. So this is great news.
Yes. And people are like, oh, finally. This now we have automations, shared connections. This was, by the way, this was released today. So now you have another session. When you open a space, it could be a shared space or a personal space, but it makes more sense on a shared space. When you go to the space details, you have and go to connections, you see a new tab there where you can add now a connection to an automation. So when you create an automation, you can get those shared connections. I believe this is the very first step to create shared automations. So this high request demand to make the automations shareable in a shared space. So I think this is the first step. So now you have the shared connection. So this is very good. And we have table improvements. The table improvements are more like visual stuff. And Qlik Cloud this month did a big UI change, so making the font smaller, a lot of minor changes, improvements on the quality of the interface was applied this month. So you can see here from the state table, so you have smaller columns. Now you can add URL links. Pivot tables, you have lots of small improvements like dimension limits. Measure formatting, you can change fonts and colors and all that stuff. The text alignments, full value styling measures. Again, URL links. So those are all nice stuff. A button enhancements. So you can do a lot of new actions and styling with the buttons. So not navigating to specific charts. So this is true and in many different aspects. We'll see that again, this link to a specific chart in another new feature. Jump to section, back to top. So actions like that. Let's go ahead. Yes, this is about the preload. Do a limited load through the. Oh no, sorry. This is also quite new stuff. So when you go to the application load script, now you can do a preview of the data. You can do a limited load. So on the bottom of the load script, you can see the preview panel, and then you can select the table and see the columns pre-populated. This feature was the first release of this feature was in the scripts. So we used to have we do have in Qlik Cloud the application itself, the Qlik Sense application, and the Qlik scripts. So this feature was introduced on Qlik scripts, but now they also extend that for the Qlik applications. So it's cool to see if everything is fine. Okay, so let's move. Okay, so links to sheets in Qlik Cloud Catalog. So when you go to the Add New and you have a link, you can put a link for a specific sheet. If you did that before, every time you go to the link, it will link to the application itself, not to the specific sheet. And when you navigate to a sheet through this kind of links, you see when you open the sheet, you see the chart was like highlighted with a blue border, so for a few seconds. New direct access gateway, so there is a new version of it, and then there's a new authentication to Azure, Snowflake, Databricks, and MongoDB. An enhanced metadata paging, .NET 8 required. Interesting. I didn't have a chance to play with this new version, but I believe it's just about improvements in performances on those new capabilities. By the way, talking a little bit more about direct access. So the direct access gateway is to connect Qlik Cloud to your on-prem sources. So if you have a SQL Server database that's on-prem and you have Qlik Cloud, you have to install this direct access gateway. There are two types of data gateway. One is for data movement, that's used for QCDI, and then you have the direct access, is to access data source from Qlik Cloud. So the initial versions of this one was not good, so it was very inconsistent, it doesn't work properly. But I think since the third release of the gateway was very stable. So I use this a lot, so with different customers, and we don't have problem at all. So I was really concerned at the beginning with this because I work mostly with heavy ETL process, bringing data to Qlik and transforming to QVDs and all the stuff. And this was scary at the beginning, but now I'm quite comfortable with this. I'm not concerned at all about using data gateway. So and don't be scared about that. If this is what is holding you to move to Qlik Cloud, if you have Qlik Sense on-prem, it's not a problem anymore. So it's very stable. The performance is quite good. So it's fine. Okay, so configure Microsoft 365 with OAuth. So this is the authentication that Microsoft is, the authentication process that Microsoft is using mostly on the with the technology. Improved usability and support to AVS script files. I haven't tested this one, so I can't talk much about this one. So we have DynamoDB connector, okay. ODBC replacing current, okay, good. Button runtime evaluation for optional actions, that is related to the buttons. Added support to Amazon Bedrock Cloud 3. Let me spell this. So this is a connection. Custom security roles. Custom security roles is very interesting. This was more related to the capacity model, the subscription, capacity subscription. So it was a demand that we had there. And then Qlik just implemented the security roles to solve one of the problems we were having with the capacity. So then now it's more flexible to set up some of the profiles for the users. This would be very interesting for the ones that use the capacity subscription. SAP ODB connector. Okay, so Qlik have a very good support to SAP and all the kinds of connectors you can use there. And they extended the cloud to Japan. So if you live in Japan, you have a closer data center to you. All right, and then this is coming from the talent. So the talent group bringing improvements to the Qlik data integration. This is the QCDI. So QCDI is to automate data flows from your on-prem or any data source, pretty much any data source to Qlik or to any other data platform. So for instance, you can connect to some APIs like Jira, any other supported API or on-prem or cloud storage, do some ETL process, data manipulation, and store in a cloud service like Snowflake or Databricks or even Qlik. So this is a way to design this data flow without having to type any code. So they bring that. This was from Talent. So now they put this flow here in the Qlik Cloud Data Integration. Okay. All right, Igor.
Okay, very good. So now I mentioned at the beginning that this meetup event is part of our year theme for the year for 2024, which is the language-centric analytics. So let's understand what is language-centric analytics, which is a new term that, as I mentioned before, Marcos and I were crafting and working in this new concept. So basically, when we're talking about analytics, there's different ways we can approach analytics. One, like the very first try, was what we call the report-centric analytics. So basically, you have all of the data stored in your company in some form, and you want to report that data. So it's very detailed because it's a report, so it's very like column, row based. So we have that predefined static format. The hierarchy and everything is structured. So if you remember, like Crystal reports, that's basically report-centric analytics. It's not user-friendly. It's mostly designed to be printed and then to be analyzed row by row. It's very time-consuming, not only to design, but especially to analyze. So thinking about the analytics as the centerpiece of this is very time-consuming, and it requires a lot of maintenance as well. So then it came the age of BI, and then the dashboard, and then we're still living in actually both ages. So they kind of happening simultaneously. So it's the dashboard. So we work with any analytics. We familiar with this. We have more visualization. It's more user friendly. You can collaborate. It's flexible. And there is some preconceived bias. It's bias based on requirements gathering, the developer, but it's a step forward compared to the report-centric analytics. There's lower maintenance compared to report, better accessibility, and all of that. So it's great. We love it. Now, what we're proposing is another step forward that was not possible before. That is the language-centric analytics. The language-centric, it's basically you're putting language. And when I say language, I'm not saying like programming language. Same language like English, Portuguese, Czech. I'm saying actually ways people communicate. That is actually more intuitive than anything else. Using language is more intuitive than using a mouse or anything else. So a lot of times when you introduce language capabilities, so it's talking about Qlik, like inside a divisor, for example, we add that as an add-on at the end of the project. Sometimes not even in every project. However, the proposal is that should be the first step. The language-centric analytics is you start with the language, because there are some steps that are required for you to do in order to train whatever bot, whatever technology that will interact with the language, and then will interface. There will be the interface between the language system and the end user. So for the end users, the advantages are clear. They can simply talk and type a question and can see the results in terms of a chart or as an explanation. So all Gen AI and everything, it's all about that. But the proposal is that's also an advantage to developers, to people who are on the other side of this, because it requires you to think differently when you're approaching an analytics development. So let's give you an example. If you are an app developer, you don't work for the company you develop, so you don't know a lot of the business, but you know, for example, you know Qlik very well. So your approach initially will be think in terms of the data, tables, data module, and all of that, which is not wrong. But then a lot of times you add features, you add stuff that is not actually helping the customer answer business questions. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do: help the customer answer business questions, find areas where it needs to be improved, and help the business. That's the final objective. But if you think about language-centric, because you need to prepare vocabulary, glossaries, you need to prepare the corpus where the interface will run against. You're forced to think in terms of business questions. You change the whole perspective. So that's what we're proposing, and there's a lot of tools, and also we can use language to enrich your data, and that's actually one of the main topics of today's session. And by the way, language-centric does not replace what I showed before, like the report or dashboard. It adds to it. It's just a different and new perspective to look at analytics. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the concept. We wrote an article about it, like introducing the topic, and we'll release more topics about it as we continue to develop assets like demos, examples, etc. So if you check, Marcos and I, we have a blog, the Data Voyages. If you check our blog, there's the link here, datavoyages.net. There is an article there where we explain this concept in more details. Okay, so that's basically an introduction what language-centric analytics are. And by the way, let me show you a message here. As I said at the beginning, if you have questions, comments, leave in the chat, and we'll make this as interactive as possible. Now, I said it when I started explaining this language-centric analytics topic that this was not possible before. There's one reason why this concept is new. It's because until we had this very modern, capable natural language processing tools with larger language models, those things were just like sci-fi. We had some tries. We have things that approach this concept, but they were very immature. Now, you know, all the technology, it's ready, and it's getting better like every month or every week, depending the area you're studying. So everybody's talking about large language models. So what are large language models? And so basically, there are three words: large language and models. Let's understand why they're called large language models. First, it's a type of artificial intelligence. And when I say artificial intelligence, is that concept where it's a piece of, is artificial, so it's not natural, it's not biological. So it's a piece of software. In that case, they would execute a task that was not specifically programmed to do. For example, ChatGPT was programmed to do certain things, but not necessarily all of the things that it's able to do. So even the programmers were surprised how well we could do some of those things. So this is artificial intelligence. Like AlphaGo, actually it's a few years old already, a very good documentary on Netflix about the AlphaGo project. AlphaGo was a computer that played Go, like the most ever invented. When they were testing in a real competition, they expected to win a few games, to lose some others, not to win against like the world champion. So it was not programmed to do that, but it did it anyway, and it did it in a way that nobody imagined the game strategy. So it's large because the size, the number of parameters that the model was trained off, it's immense. Like, in order to be able, language is something complex. So in order to be able to generalize and extrapolate and answer your questions, like crazy questions, like, oh, give me, convert my, I tried this, I like provided a Qlik code with comment, I like comment this code, but comment this code in the form of poetry of the 16th century poetry, and it was able to do it, to combine different things. In order to be able to do those crazy things, they need to be trained in a massive amount of text or corpus. That is not any text. It doesn't just look freely on the internet. Google made a terrible mistake by training their Gemini using Reddit, which is terrible because all of the conspiracy, fake news, all the like crazy things that happens on the internet starts on Reddit. So they like good large language models, they have a pre-selected corpus, like trusted sources, and they trains in different types. And it's also large because it's not as specific to one task. It doesn't do only sentiment analysis or translation, or it can do anything language related. And it's language because the focus is language. It is important to know, don't expect your ChatGPT or whatever large language model to be able to do math. It doesn't do well. Sometimes you ask ChatGPT a very simple math question and it does not reply well because it's trained to do language, not other things. So not all jobs will be replaced by AI yet. And it's a module because it is pre-trained, and then the pre-trained creates like a mathematical module. And then the module, it's applied to different scenarios as interact with users, with us, through either a chat interface or through API. So that's basically what is a large language module. But now, how does it work? Well, before that, I always like to introduce this. I love paradoxes, and this is one of my favorite ones, the Moravec's paradox. That basically says that tasks that are complex to humans are simple to machines, and tasks that are simple to humans are complex to machines. So, for example, playing Go, playing chess, it's complex to humans. You might know the rules, but actually the strategy and all of that requires a lot of study, practice. It is not simple. To a computer, it's much simpler. One of the first AIs we had in history, like in the 670s, AI was started in the 50s. One of the first like advanced AIs, sort of advanced, was trained to play chess. And in the 90s, it was famous when the IBM Deep Blue won. Forgot the name of the Russian chess player. So Kasparov. So that's a very complex task for human, simple to machines. But simple tasks to humans are complex to machines. And there are a lot of explanations, but then I'll probably spend a lot of time explaining why. If you go into Qlik Connect, get me a drink and I'll be happy to talk about it next week. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because simple language tasks that for us, like a toddler can do, for computers are extremely complex. And we'll see some of it, how the newest large language models approach these ideas. So, first of all, context was always one of the most complex things for computer, natural language processing computer. The language needs to understand the context, otherwise you give you a nonsense answer. For example, if I say, I blank the Petrus, what should I fill the blank? I don't know. I need context. So what is the context? Well, let's say I blank the Petrus. I want them to win. Now I know the context. So you have Patriots fan. So you want them, I love the Patriots, I like the Patriots, something positive. And then the second one, I blank the patrons. I want them to lose. Then it's the opposite. You're a hater, and automatically don't dislike you. And I'm kidding. So I hate the patrons. I dislike the patrons. Whatever you will feel the blank. So context is it's everything. It makes the whole difference. So if the language model cannot understand context, it cannot give you a good answer. So sometimes even when you're interacting, you need to give context. That's one of the main things we teach when we're teaching like prompt engineering. Now, to get context, to get the correct context, the models, they have this thing called self-attention. So self-attention, it's basically a capability that each word it's analyzed within the importance that the word has to the comprehension of the whole sentence and to understand the other words. So let's take a look at this sentence. The animal didn't cross the street because it was too tired. So that's the sentence. So first thing, we tokenize it. If you work with language before, first thing we tokenize, we split in different units of languages. So animal, so each line of this is a token, as you can see here. And then the it after because, it's who is referring to is the street, the animal, the cross, the what is referring to. So that's the self-attention. So for that word, it will then rank. So basically, we have three concepts. That will take more time to explain detail, but we have this thing called the query, the key, and the value. So basically, it will rank what is the importance to understand it for for animal, for didn't, for all of these. Then we rank those, and then we'll combine, and there's a lot of calculation going on. There's a lot of log functions, a lot of things going on. And then at the end, we'll get a few candidates. Like it could be a street because it will refer to a noun. Which words are nouns? And then, it could be animal, it could be a street. And then at the end, you will identify, it's referred to because also then identifies that tire cannot, it has the highest correlation is tired, but tire has a very low, they call the key, has a very low key to street, but a high to animal. Then at the end of the day, it knows that it refers to animal. So that's what's going on inside the algorithm. Okay, that's how it can get context. Now, all of this was only possible after a paper that was published in 2017, so not long ago. It's very recent. And that paper introduced the concept of transformer. So ChatGPT, the GPT, the T of the GPT means transformer. It's generative pre-transformers. So transformer, it's a complex concept, but basically it's a type of natural language processing that all of these large language models today use that has basically two processes. One is encode, and the other is decode. So let's take like a very simple task. Like I want to translate a sentence like "Je suis étudiant" to another language, like to English. I am a student. So how does it do it? It doesn't translate that French to English directly. It translates the French and encodes it, and then that it's decoded to English. Interesting is it can then decode to any other language, and it uses the self-attention to understand the function of each word and the relative importance. So then it will propagate it and make it work. So that's very briefly how it is work. Now, at the end of the day, inside an encoder and decoder, it's all about probability. When you type in a text, for example, I see here, the best thing about AI is what is. There's many things you can say. So what is the most probable word after this? a lot of old language models, they were based on like a probability. I'm typing something, and then what is the most probable word after? Actually, the most of phones autocorrect, they are based on that, and sometimes they get like nonsense responses. Large language models like the Gemini, like ChatGPT, like Llama, they do differently. They do that. They use the table of probability, and so they know that when you're talking about a specific term, that's the context. But they use that based on the context. They use that based on self-attention that I just mentioned. So I know that it's an article about AI. So the next word is the most probable in the context of AI, because it knows that in that sense, the best thing about AI is the most important word, because without it, the importance of those words or the context will be lost. So that's the word that if you remove it, it will change the context the most. So that's the mathematical calculation behind it. So then it knows that it cannot do things that are not related to this. And then it gets what is the probability? Well, after ability to, we have these stable probabilities. Could be learn, predict, make, understand, do, and so on. What is funny is in ChatGPT, if you're working with the API, you can even play with that. And instead of getting the most probable word, you can sort between the most probable list of words, and you can have a text that is more creative. So you can adjust that if you're working directly with the API, which is a pretty fun thing to do. Okay, so that it's in a nutshell. Again, we have a lot of topics to cover today, but that's in a nutshell how it works individually. And by the way, it knows every word function. So then it understands natively the grammar rules without the grammar rules be thought. It just learns naturally, just like a machine learning, by simply reading the text and see how the rules applies in real case scenarios.
Igor,
Yes,
I have a quick question.
absolutely.
So I noticed that if I translate something using ChatGPT, it's way better than the Google Translator. So do you think it's, I mean, there are probably a lot of components, but do you think the self-attention is the magic behind it? So what makes it so much better?
So you're translating from what language to which language?
Like English to Portuguese or vice versa?
Yeah. Okay. So there are two things here. Actually, the Google Translator got really, really better now that they're starting to use large language models. But if you compare to other translators, there's two things. First is the old language models we had in the past. They did not consider context. They only consider probabilities. So if we say the next thing about AI is the ability to, you only consider what's the most probable word after to, regardless what you're talking about, the context. So then you give you crazy nonsense words. That's one thing. So because it knows, we know there's some words that have different meanings depending on the context. Like I showed the example before, like well could be an object or something, or could be an adverb. So depending on the context, you understand what it means. But the other one is a bigger problem for translation specifically. Was a bigger problem for translation specifically is that they translated from one language to another language. And they do not have a lot of translation. So English, Portuguese, for example, or some of the old modules, they do not have an English to Portuguese translation module. They have an English to Spanish. They have a Spanish to Portuguese. So if you translate it to one language and to a second, then to a third, you're just adding mistakes. So that was the problem with the old language models. But now I think Google Translator, it's much better. When I say now, it's like the last 2-3 months. They started adding, but ChatGPT is still far superior for translation.
Yes.
And also there's some of the Hugging Faces, the house syncing library for translation. It's amazing with fraction of the cost. That's usually my go-to for model translation. Okay, so questions? Everybody's super quiet. We'll talk about AutoML. We'll have a demo in a few minutes. No questions. Feel free to send your questions. Just type in the chat. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you can just type in the chat, me, how many of you play or did anything with AutoML before? Like a module deployment, something. You can type in the chat. Okay, got answered. Keep answering. I'll continue. I'll talk about AutoML. That'll be important to know. So when I'm doing the demo. So Qlik AutoML, it's one of the greatest additions in the last 2-3 years to the Qlik family. If you remember, it was when Qlik acquired Big Squid, and it's funny enough, I was in a data science conference. Don't remember when. Was definitely before COVID. And they Big Squid, they had a booth, and they got me a 6-month trial license. I've never seen like a 6-month trial before. And I played, and I really liked the tool. I thought it was simpler, and more effective for that reason than Data Robot, which what I used for AutoML before. And but like straight to the point. And then when they acquired, there was, I mean, for me personally, it was great news. And they keep in adding like really interesting stuff. So basically, machine learning, it's another branch of artificial intelligence. And the idea of machine learning, there's different types of machine learning, but the machine learning we're talking about that Qlik AutoML handles, it's basically it's a piece of software or algorithm that will learn the patterns in your data, and then will be able to predict future occurrences. So let's say I have 2 examples here. Will a gym customer cancel their membership? I can only predict that using machine learning if I have historical data with data from different customers in the gym. Some of them canceled the membership, some of them didn't cancel the membership. I input that to the machine learning algorithm, and then it will come up with the model that understands the rules. So I do not have to inform the rules. Well, if this equals that. So don't trust the memes. AI is not just a sequence of if statements. It's not. So you don't need to provide the actual rules. You will learn the patterns that are hidden in the rules. And that's actually the, if you understand that, forget about the prediction. Not forget about it, but prediction is not the greatest thing about machine learning. Finding the hidden patterns within the data, that's the true beauty. And in my demo, I'll talk about it a little bit. But machine learning, let me ask another question. Have you worked with machine learning or developed machine learning manually before? Manually, I mean like you did in R and Python, Julia, in any language. Well, I did, and it's painful because you need to do every single step like programmatic. You need to write code for single thing. And there's a lot of things you need to do. You need to consider how you handle your null values. You have categorical columns. You need also to encode the categorical values. And then you need to split your data into training and validation. You need to do cross-validation. You need to run different algorithms and then compare the accuracy metrics to have a champion. It's a lot of things, and like days, weeks of programming. The idea of AutoML, it's not to replace the work of the data scientist, but it should replace the work of the programmer. So you don't need to program. So then the data scientist will focus on the analytics part of the job, not the programming part of the job. Qlik AutoML has a few limitations, so that's important to say. If you're using the API, AutoML API, or the connector. They basically go through the same path. There's a limit of 300 requests per minute, which is pretty high. So I think pretty rare that anyone will reach that limit. The maximum number of columns is 500, even if you're training or if you're running a module, 500 columns max, which sounds great because honestly, if you have them number of columns, you need to do your homework and analyze which columns you should remove. And maximum number of rows depends on your license type. I think the basic now it's 1 million cells. Rows, I think, I don't remember, but cells total, like rows times columns, is 1 million, the minimum license. Okay. Now, who wants to see that in action? And by the way, guys, let's talk more. Let's interact more. I think this will be more fun. Okay, let me pause here a little, real quick. Any questions? Okay, so no questions for you. So let me see.
I'm lucky I was not drinking or doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. Let me share my screen real quick.
Oh, I think you.
Yeah, the previous setup, it deleted.
Yes.
Before. There we go.
Good.
So now let's, and I'll do, if you've seen my demos of AutoML before, I'll do a little different this time because we'll see like 2 different AutoMLs. But we'll also talk about large language models. I'll show things that I did in ChatGPT through the API in Qlik, and we'll compare same results in AutoML. So we do some things differently now. So let me remove our ugly faces. There we go. So before showing what I did, because when I ask you if you did AutoML before, only one person replied yes. So let's assume you didn't. So let me give you just a very brief intro how we do work with AutoML. So by the way, it's a feature available in Qlik Cloud. So if you have Qlik Sense Client Managed, we don't have AutoML for that. It's in the cloud. So I'm in the hub, and then we have our beautiful, lovely magic green button. I always call this the magic green button, the Add New. So click there, and these are all of the things you can do in the cloud. One of them is to create a machine learning experiment. So when we're creating AutoML, we're creating this thing called an experiment. And there's no limitation in the number of experiments you can create in Qlik Cloud, which is great. Other tools, AWS SageMaker, for example, you pay by compute time. You pay by that. So if you just create an experiment, maybe it's just for studying purposes, or you're just trying something. You're not necessarily going to deploy it to production. So you're paying for that. So you punish by experimenting. But Qlik doesn't punish you to trying and experimenting with AutoML. So give it a try. If you have the proper, if you don't see it, it's because you need a specific roles. So talk to your sysadmin. So you need specific roles for Qlik AutoML. But let me create one here. I'll do like let me call this temp, so I'll remember to delete after. AutoML time in hospital. Let me predict a length of stay, which is actually one of the things I'll show after. So I'll do this, and then I'll click create. That's the only thing you need to do to create a AutoML is give it a name. Find a space where you want to save it. I just place in my personal space. And then my tip for you, if you're lost, just follow the green. Where's the green? Here, create, select the data set. So you select the data set. So this one thing, AutoML requires data engineering prior for your work. You need to, let's say you are, your data that you want to provide to your experiment has information from 3-4 different tables. So you need to combine those tables into one table and save that into a file in Qlik Cloud. Currently, that's the only way you will provide, not to consume a module, but to train a module. The experiment, what we're doing is training a module. So we're providing a historical data that has the answers we want already. And then we're asking the AutoML, hey, AutoML, can you learn the rules hidden in my data? And then provide me a trained module, and then AutoML will do that for you. So we need to provide a training data set. Training data set means it's a data set that you use for training. It's not the data set, the same data set that you use for your prediction or validation. It doesn't have to be a large data set. It just has to have enough data that you compute all of the different possible scenarios you have. So let's say you're trying to predict something sales related. It's a good idea to have 1 year, maybe a little bit more of data. But you don't need much more than that. If you have like 10 years of data, it doesn't give you much, because the patterns that happened 10 years ago, it's probably not happening again, or maybe they happen the same way every year. But at least 1 year. If you only provide 6 months, then you have in a module that is pretty good on predicting those months, but has no idea to predict the rest of the year. So you need to take into consideration, and that's part of the data scientist work. So that's why you need to involve data science at the beginning of the project, not later on when it's too late, to work with you to have those decisions, and also data engineers that will prep the data for training. So let me search for, let me get this hospital fact. Search, there we go. I have this QVG here. And it could be a QVG, a CSV, a Parquet, any file. Once I select it, Qlik AutoML will give me the method, all the columns I have, and some metadata information about the columns. Now my next, again, follow the green. My next task is to select a target. What column are you predicting? Well, I want to predict the length of stay, which in this case is called time in hospital. I want to predict how many days a patient will stay in the hospital. So I want to click this one here. Just click it, and you have a target. But before I go there, notice that I have this information. One of them is feature type. This is also very important. And I have 2 options. A feature type can be categorical, or it can be numerical. Okay. Also, now we have also free text. So let me find time in hospital. Let me click. Now that's my target. See the little target icon. All of the other columns became selectable, so you can remove them if they don't make sense to exist in your training data set. Now, time in hospital is a number. It's number of days. So the module automatically identified this as a regression. What is a regression? It's a machine learning that predicts a number. So at the end of the day, there will be like a mathematical formula that will have the inputs, and you give them the output, which is the time in hospital prediction. Very good. So there are 6 most common algorithms for regression. Are there only 6? No, hundreds. Every day, some dude in university creates a new one. But these are the 6 that actually matters. So if you go to other tools like AutoML, goes straight to the point. That's one of the things I love about it. If you go to other tools like Data Robot, I really like Data Robot. It is insanely expensive, and it takes forever to run. But other than that, it's really good. But Data Robot will run this, and you'll have like a neural network. It will have like deep learning. It will have like this crazy stuff. And at the end of the day, it will select a model that is, I don't know, Cat Boost, or will be a light a gradient boosting regression, something like that. At the end of the day, we'll select one of the most common ones. And sometimes we'll select like a neural network. But having a neural network to solve one problem like this is like, oh, I need to kill this cockroach, and then I'm using like a machine gun to do it. It's kind of the same. You have like 0.0001% addition to precision to 10 hours more processing time. So that's one of the things I love about AutoML. Now, by default, it selects them all. I will select them all, no problem. Let it run through them all, and then I can find fields that do not make sense to display it. I know a few like readmitted. These are information that I only have after the patient is discharged. So I don't have this information when the patient is admitted at the beginning of the process. So it doesn't make sense. I will overfit my module if I do that. Some of the information AutoML is not included because they have only one distinct value, or they have too many distinct values. So it means that they are like an ID. So it doesn't make sense to train on those. So it does a lot of these.
You know what, Igor?
Yes.
Quick question. I like this approach, and I have a question. So I know AutoML, it's way easier to use than other machine learning process, but so how it does help us somehow to identify the columns that are most significant for our target, or it's something
not yet, okay, because it doesn't know yet.
Right, and eventually it will know that. And so what I'm trying to understand here is like we still need the data scientists to
yes
have a better output from this, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, so this is a great question. I hear a lot of people saying, "Yeah, you don't need a data scientist." Look, I train a module; it's 100% accuracy. There's a lot of traps, not in AutoML, by the way, any machine learning. There's a lot of traps you can fall into. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, I have this model; it's amazing. It's 95% accuracy. Great." In training, and then you put in production, it's terrible. Because you don't know what you're doing. There's a lot of traps. Like you can have, you need to define your horizon of prediction. You need to define what columns will give you future or target leakage. So there's a lot of things that a data scientist will easily identify. And if not, if the data scientist doesn't know that field specifically, like I know healthcare, but let's say something that I never work with, then I'll be able to work and ask the right questions to the specialist. But it's very easy to have a module that is 100% accuracy in training. And then you put in production and it's terrible. And you have no idea why. And by the way, it's not, I've seen some approaches, luckily not in our company. Oh, we ask the users to do their AutoML, and then we invite the data scientists for 1 hour meeting at the end of the project. It's too late. It's too late. You need to involve during the process. Most likely, they'll be involved through all of the process. Then your chances of having a module actually trained correctly that will perform well in production, it's much higher. And also, we'll discuss now MLOps in the future. You need to see how in the future, and today, later, you need to see how that will fit into the organization pipeline. So it also does a lot of tests that will require a lot of programming, like the things that I said before: imputation of news, encoding categorical values, filter scaling, automatic codals, 5 cross validation. It does all of that automatically. Not automatically. I mean, yeah, it's automatic. It's AutoML. The auto, it stands for that. So you don't need to program. So then once I click Run Experiment, this will run. And then this will take a while, so I'm not going to wait. I will jump to the next thing. Then we'll come back to this while this runs. But now what it's doing is doing all of those tasks, and it will run and train your data using all of these 6 algorithms. and then we'll validate all of the metrics again, each one of those, and then we'll suggest you which one you should consider, and we'll also give you the reasons why. This will take a few minutes, not a lot. This is not a large data set, but this will take a few minutes. So let me jump to an application here where I show the final result. Because once our module is trained, we want to deploy it. If we like the module, we want to deploy it to production and actually consume as part of our applications. So this is just some patient data that I have here designed, and it's consuming a module that predicts the same thing: the length of stay, LOS, the length of stay, or time in the hospital. Interesting that the patients that are observed, the average length of stay is 4 days, and the module also predicted 4 days, which is pretty interesting. The box plot here will show like there's a huge variance, but the median is 4 days, so it's kind of a normal distribution with a few outliers. It's pretty good. By the way, talking about language, we have like a glossary. I recommend always include a glossary in your development, but glossary is something we'll discuss, little spoiler, in a future event that we are organizing. But anyway, that's a module we've created. Let me open that module. Let me, it's overlaid here. Let me see. Oh, that's, let me open a new window here. This graph is on top of the button, so it's not allowing me to click. Let me open this. That's the module I want to show you. So that's a pre-trained module. So this module was trained before. Found, and it gives me like the statistics. This is the most important feature in order to predict the length of stay. Number of medications are prescribed to the patients while in the hospital. We have 2 ways to understand the feature importance. Feature importance, it's basically what are the most important columns to make my prediction. If I remove them, then my prediction will be inexistent. So number of medications, it's number 1, and there's a number 2. Basically, here it shows me 2 methodologies: permutation importance and SHAP importance. But what we really use is SHAP importance, which I'll show you in the and there. So it gives me statistics. This is the champion recommended by AutoML. I selected as the one I like, and then if you click deploy, I already did it, deployed this module, but you can deploy this to production. What it means is you get this module, and that module becomes a resource in the Qlik Cloud. It means you can create a data connection to that and just provide data to it, and then get predictions back, which is what we're doing here. Now, the great thing is, if I only have the prediction, that is not so useful, because a prediction without a reason, it's meaningless. If let's say I have a prediction, the patient will die. What should I do? Just tell their family before? No, I need to be able to do something. I need to know why the module's prediction the patient will die, or why the module's prediction the machine will break. So then I can make something and avoid that behavior. I don't want to happen. So in this case, this is the feature importance that we're showing, and that's the first one, the second one, etc. But that's summary. A lot of tools gives you that. AWS gives you that. Data Robot gives you that. But you know what not all gives you is a detail view. So AutoML gives you also a detail view, which is the importance for every single row. So then you have one specific patient, one specific machine, one specific client, whatever you're analyzing, and then you can see for that one why we're predicting the customer will not renew the contract, why the employee will leave the company, why the machine will break, why the patient will have this diagnosis, or why the length of stay of this will be that much. So then we can analyze patient by patient. So each dot is basically an intersection of a column and a patient. The negative means the prediction a lower length of stay. The blues are prediction a higher length of stay. So pretty simple. So that is one type of AutoML. If you've seen demos of AutoML, we've seen something like this before. Maybe they show you patient readmission to show classification, etc. Now, we're talking about language. I also have in this data patient reviews. So every patient, after they left the hospital, they wrote a review of their stay. They like it, they dislike it, they have problem with this or that. They wrote a review. That's the only thing they wrote. So there's no like 5-star, 2-star. They just wrote a text, a preview. So the approach that I used before with this is, well, let's use the OpenAI API through Qlik. So there's a Qlik script that will send the data to that and get something we call the sentiment analysis. Because I cannot read the text of, I have here over 1,500 patients. I cannot read all of that. It's too much text to read. But I need to focus on like negative sentiments, for example, patients who are not happy. So then for every single patient, that's the workflow, we ask the question, this is a patient review, return the sentiment, and these are your options. So I'm giving the context to the ChatGPT. Why did I do that? Because sentiment analysis could be positive, negative, mixed, which is what I asked, but it could be happy, angry, etc. So I wanted specifically those 3 options. So I sent ChatGPT and it returned me the sentiment analysis for each text. It gave me the answer. It's either positive, negative, or mixed. Then I asked also a second question. Now I want to know what type of review. Are they reviewing pain management, communication, nurse and doctors, environment, etc.? Because I need to know what area in the hospital has the most negative reviews, positive reviews, etc. So read the text and give me the category based on HCAP system. And again, I'm giving the context. That's good prompt engineer. These are the categories I want. And then it gave me a review categorization. So sentiment analysis, categorization are things that language modules can do. And I use ChatGPT all in Qlik to do it. But I did something more, which is, this is my favorite one, actually. We all protecting the patient's data. Private identifiable information, the PII, need to be protected. I don't want patient names or addresses or anything that you can use to identify patients or social security or anything leaked. So I don't want this information to be leaked. However, in the review, the patient doesn't know that. The patient might say, oh, because I was with my cousin, and then say the name, and Dr. Mark said this. So they might mention information that are protected. So I asked ChatGPT, censor the text, return me a censored text. So that's anonymization. All done in Qlik, just consuming the API. I was happy with that. I did several demos, trainings, all of that using these capabilities. Not only for healthcare, for others. All kind of data we can do something like that. You need correct prompt engineer, auditing, validation. You need all of those. Great. But then I asked, well, can I do something similar with AutoML? And I had the idea since like the last meetup we had in the What's New section, we presented this new feature of AutoML, which is reading text as a feature. So now AutoML can read free text as a feature and use it in the training. So I said, well, I will provide one column, just one column to AutoML. And I'll try to get sentiment analysis and review categorization. AutoML cannot do anonymization. AutoML will give you you have this possible answers, and you will choose one of the answers. Like that's the what we call classification. Anonymization is much more complex. It's not machine learning. It's way more complex because it will generate a text for you. It's Gen AI. AutoML does not do Gen AI. So the beauty is AutoML gave me also the prediction score. So I think this is a positive review, and with 85% probability. I think this is a negative review with 95% probability. So that's even better. And also did for categorization. And I have the modules here. I can open the module. It should be opening. Come on, layout container, don't disappoint me. Okay, let me open manually. That will be.
I think it's opening, no? I saw, yeah.
Oh, you open another. I'm opening another window. Yeah, never mind. So that's the module. So I only provide one column. You see the feature importance, there's only one column, the review text, and then it gave me the importance. How did it do? Let's see. Now, this is, by the way, I'll show you. Actually, let me show how you did it before. So I have here the sentiment that ChatGPT predicted, the sentiment the AutoML predicted, and basically a column that says if they are the same or not. How did well? By the way, ChatGPT did really well. They have overall, when I say accuracy, it's basically they did the same. They got the same result. 84% of the time, AutoML got the same answer as ChatGPT. 80% of the time. For positive sentiments, that is 98% of the time. For negative sentiments, that is all the time. The mixed sentiment is the one that most differences. Now let's see. It just was pretty good. So we see match. Look at this mismatch. So ChatGPT thinks this is a positive review. AutoML thinks it's a mixed. I had to wait a bit longer than expected, but the server was top notch once I was seen. Great clinic. I kind of agree with the AutoML. I don't know about you. I think AutoML did better than ChatGPT. By the way, this ChatGPT 4.0, the new fancy everybody, including me, is talking about. It's not like an old ChatGPT. So I think it did it better. So let me select the mismatch ones only. So it's all the mixed ones. And there's a little duplication here. So AutoML, at the end of the day, and this is running this example that I have like 1,590 patient reviews, but it did pretty good. Did, I think, compare or slightly better than ChatGPT. And then because all of the functionalities we have, we can have like our confusion matrix for multi-class. So all of the greens are the things that are they match, and the reds are the things that they do not match. And we can see what are the percentage of positive negative reviews by the category reviews. By the way, on this, I didn't display here because we don't have time to discuss it. AutoML predicted like 95% the same as ChatGPT. Pretty good. And because we have all this ability of Qlik being our integration platform, I even classify. I did use ChatGPT to create me a list, get all of the words, and classify the type of word, like it's a noun or verb, adverb. So I see, does like negative sentiments use more adjectives or not, things like that, and the average size. Interesting. Negative, kind of obvious. Negative reviews, they are much larger than positive reviews. So when you're angry, you type more. Twitter is that to witness on my side. So there's some other things we did, and all of those were. And this is this is what I did only using ChatGPT, only language. That's a censoring thing. So let me get censor message just to show you an example. Like this is an example. So all the review, and then it says doctor, and then he had the name of the doctor. So the ChatGPT removed the name of the doctor to the word sensor. So some of the things we can do. And by the way, I did it in Qlik script. Everything in Qlik script, 100%. Okay. So that questions.
Okay, I have a few questions.
Absolutely.
So when you have the model, if you can go back to the model where you see the columns related to your experiment,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a chart of the top dimensions that affect the target.
Yeah. So let's
So
get back to that.
if
That's
I
the one. Mm-hmm.
if I remove the columns that have less impact on my target, what's the gain doing that? So will my model be perform faster, or you cost less because of that? So what's the pros and cons on removing that? Because I can say, okay, I will put just the 500 columns I can, and that's it. So what's the benefit of reducing?
That is a great question. So let me show you this. So this is, let me click new version so we can enable this. So this is the module that we're running for length of stay. And then it shows the feature importance for these columns. And then it's basically using all of these 43 top columns. But then you see that a lot of columns there, the sharp importance that are so small, they're basically zero, two 4 decimal places. So I can remove those. And what I gain in performance? Maybe depends on how many rows and columns you processing. In cost, not in Qlik AutoML, because they do not charge you by computing time. But the most that you gain is in terms of reducing complexity. So remember that when I'm so this is a module that I'm used to train. When I'm consuming this module, let's say I have every day I want to run the module against the patients that were admitted to the hospital, for example. So let's say I have 1,000 patients a day, something like that, or 100 patients a day. So I need to prepare a data set. Of course, is all we do automatically, and you talk about that in the part of MLOps. But we need to prepare the data set to send to the deploy module and to get the predictions and the importance returned. So it's much simpler if instead of sending 40 columns, if you have to send 20 columns.
Right.
Like the data engineering process, because sometimes some of the columns you're not sending are columns that comes from a different tables that you no longer need to bring to your data module. So these are some of the reasons why. So I'll definitely when we actually work in a real project, we run a second version and we do all of the comparison. We're going to test validation. We'll separate the different data set to validate if we actually lost precision. And then I'll definitely remove some of these, maybe not this. By the way, I'll never do it blindly, because some of the information I know for some reason in training, they are small, but there's some important information. So when I actually doing this in real case scenario, I will look at the literature, especially medical, like what people have done before, what actually impact, what science says about what impact this, and then I'll try to bring it in, because it's a trap to just blindly trust this. So it requires some interpretation as well. But yes, maybe that was a too long answer. But
And okay,
yeah,
I was so I'm just a beginner in the AutoML, and I was really surprised about the ways you can consume the deployed data model. So
yeah, it's pretty good.
I know you can consume that from automation process, Qlik load script, and even from external services or external apps that supports REST API. You can consume that, correct?
I did in Python. I created a module in AutoML and I consume it in Python, and it works great.
Right. And I remember seeing that in kind of real time when you are interacting with a chart. So if you have a chart, the data is not in your data model, So when you have a chart, you can just bring that prediction from the deployed model somehow. Is that true, or?
Yeah. You have to create like a partial load, a connection to the API.
Mm-hmm.
But let me show you the deployment. Let me get this, for example. It could be anyone. So this is deployed. So this is a module that was deployed. If you deploy the module, that module becomes an asset. So when you're creating a data connection, one of the options of connections is AutoML right here, and you find the deployment.
I see.
And then you configure your connection. So that's when I say it becomes an asset, that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have this real-time prediction. So that is, so you have an URL. So that is, you can access through REST APIs. It could be in your script, so you can use that. But I don't see much of a use in a Qlik script because you already have the connection. You already can do using that.
And what kind of
But
authentication? What kind of authentication I need? So
you need a developer API.
Okay, got it. So pretty much
a developer API, yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
If you're a developer, then you can easily go to
Mm-hmm.
the QMC.
It's like other APIs. I got it.
And then you go to
API keys.
You generate a new one, and then you use that to authenticate.
Right.
By the way, the help, it doesn't have examples.
So if I want to share that our model to a partner or a customer, we have to provide the API key for this one.
Yeah.
For the customer.
Yes. So there we go. That's the core. So you need to provide your API key here.
Just API key, I see.
Yeah. And of course, the prediction module. So you need to provide that URL that you copied here. You will provide here as the URL.
Deployment ID.
All of this, the core will
and
be
the body.
The core will be, so all of this, the core will be, all of this that I have highlighted is basically this that you will copy. And then you provide your API key, and then you basically will provide the data.
The data to be analyzed.
Yeah, this D means data. You know that. So anyway. Good.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I tested in Python. I never tested in R, but I tested in Python a few times, and it works just great. No problem.
Nice.
More questions before we continue? Let us know. Okay. So there was a quick demo of, maybe not so quick, of AutoML and language and some of the things we can do. Now, back to you, Mark. Let's talk about MLOps.
Yes. Right. Again, guys, if you have any question, any comment, just type in the chat. We'll try to reply this as much as you can. All right. So I'm a director of data ops and dev ops on IPC Global. And then when I started studying dev ops, and then I learned there are a lot of other ops there, like AI ops and ML ops, and there's a lot of ops. So, but everything started from the DevOps. So it's pretty much other areas like data ops, and they kind of put together. Okay, what we learned from the DevOps is pretty much about automations, and merging those concepts together. So MLOps are not different. So like the other ops, you see lots of definitions on them, but they have a common sense. So they have some common things related. So for I got 3 definitions here. One is from this SIG MLOps. I see most of them referring to those articles in this first link here. So it's just, they say this the extension of DevOps methodology to include machine learning and data science assets as a first-class citizens. So they're just, okay, MLOps are very important. They are getting more important, so we have to include them in our DevOps cycle. So this is what you're trying to say here. It's as important as any other ops that you have here. Then this is from the MLOps.org. Like DevOps emerged from the understanding that separating, this is very important, separating the MLOps model development from the process that delivers it lowers quality, transparency, and agility to the whole intelligent software. So that means if you're taking a long time, you feel that the development cycle is taking too long, so you make a request, you ask for change, and it's taking a long time to have this deployed and ready to use, even to test. So you probably have a problem here during your development cycle. So you have to improve your DevOps applied to the machine learning. So this is how you can optimize that. So if you don't have this process established, it lowers the quality and the transparency and the agility, especially the agility of the whole process. And this is the one from Databricks. But Databricks always have good material about all those topics. So it's the core function of machine learning engineering, focus on streamlining the process of taking machine learning models to production. I think that's the perfect sentence. So it's the process of taking machine learning models to production. That's it. So how fast can you do that and monitor that and control the quality and maintain that with a good performance? So it's a collaboration between data scientists, engineers, and IT. Most of the ops that we have, DevOps, DataOps, AI ops, ML ops, you're going to depend on engineers and IT. So the other component here are the ones subject to the area that you're implementing the ops. Okay, moving next. Okay, so this is very classical. The cycle of most of the ops are very similar to this. So we have the part of the exploration of the data, then the data preparation, develop, training, reviewing. At this point here, you're probably, okay, I heard about this in this presentation. So we have training. So AutoML does that. Develop is also inside the AutoML cycle. Data prep, EAD is part of the Qlik platform. So a few things will be familiar here. So review the model. We also see that. Deploy is also included. Inference, and the monitoring. Okay, so this is a cycle where you start refining your data model cycle. Okay, let me move next. Okay, so now how can you apply MLOps with Qlik Cloud Platform? So first, Qlik is not an MLOps platform. So you have multiple MLOps platform. Maybe you can talk more about that if you have experience with any of those. So Qlik is not an MLOps platform. However, it can cover multiple MLOps components through Qlik Analytics and scripts. So they are, I'm putting them together here because you can use Qlik upload script to handle that. Also just the script. Qlik AutoML, it covers a lot of ground in the cycles, and Qlik automation. So with different levels of maturity. Maturity in MLOps is like the level of the automation of your whole cycle. Okay, so I got this chart here from one of the presentations I was studying. So this is from the YouTube channel, the Edureka. So I have a link here for the moment where they talk about this. So this is a manual process, something that you do manually to develop a classical machine learning process. And I put here where we can use Qlik to automate partially or fully those components. So we have the offline data. It doesn't matter. It could be any kind of data supported by Qlik. And then you have the data extraction analysis. So you can do that through Qlik application, Qlik script, to collect your data and do the data preparation. So you can just load it from a data source, manipulate the data the way you need, and that's it. So you have your data ready to be consumed in your model. So all this part here that gets the data preparation, as we see on AutoML presentation, you can include in data preparation the columns that you're adding to your target, so to your model. So just select those, select the target. You have the model training. So we run the model training, so you see the different algorithms behind your model, and the model evaluation and validation. So you can see how good are the scores of your model. So Qlik AutoML does all this part here. And so you have the training model. So that's the deployment. So how you deploy it. And then in Qlik Cloud platform, through the API data connectors, you can consume the model you have trained. And one thing that's not even here in this manual process is, okay, I have my model, I am consuming it, I'm having the data. How do I know for sure this is good? So we don't have that. Even in Qlik, we don't have that. So how do I know my predictions are being correct, or the generated results are fair enough to be valid? So since we don't have that, but you can use in Qlik automations to monitoring the outputs, and then merging that together with any kind of Qlik Sense application to give you results. So we talk more about that in the next slides. So, but you can do it. You can monitor your results, even the performance of your data model, and then okay, we have to retrain our data model. It's getting, what's the word, Igor, when your data model is not
It's just drifting.
Yes, drifting.
Not the data model, but the machine learning model, right?
Yes.
It's
So if it's drifting, right, then you can adjust your model to improve the results. So this is not one time thing that, okay, I did my model, this will work forever. No, it can drift the results. Okay.
Yeah. Can I add a little
Sure.
context here? So when a model drifts, so it means that it was predicting well, but it's not as well anymore. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, by the way. We just need to readjust the model. Let me give you an example. So let's say you're predicting patient readmission. So patient being readmitted, it's something hospitals want to avoid as much as possible. So if patient was discharged, they don't want to see that patient within the month because usually patient comes with complications. So, and we build a module to pay patient readmission. Ideally, what the introduction of that AutoML module to the business will do is people will now, because we have the shopping partners, we know why the model made the predictions. They will change the business based on the module. They will understand, oh, the module is predicting this patient has like a 90%, 95% chance of readmission. Let me see why. Oh, it's because of this. So let's follow up this. Let's do A, B, and C. So that like medical staff will do the work with the input of the module. And then ideally that patient will not be readmitted. It's not that the module got it wrong. It's because they made a change to the business to avoid that behavior, which is great. At the end of the day, I could care less about module accuracy if you compare to what we actually care about in this case, which is the patient outcome. So because now the introduction of the module is a new variable in the system. So after, let's say, 6 months, you'll see a drift in the module. So like the predictions will drop because the module was use the data to learn that happened before the model existed, of course. Now the model exists. So what we usually do is when you see drifting module and you can have like a threshold, let's say if accuracy drops below 70%, then you receive an alert, which is a feature in Qlik, and then you will retrain the module, as Mark was saying, because now we have a new reality. There are new rules to the game. So let's make the module be retrained based on the new rules of the day. And within the same experiment, you provide new data set, we retrain, redeploy within the same AutoML. So we don't need to do the whole process all over again. It's just a continuation improvement process.
Great. So, okay, with that in mind, let me roll back a few slides here. So if we look at the cycle here, it's missing a few, some of the details are not here, but these EDA, the exploratory data analysis, the data prep, you can include that with Qlik platform like Qlik apps and scripts. Develop, retrain, review, deploy. It's all about AutoML. This inference and manage the frequency of the model refresh. Okay, interface. Yes, this is also covered by AutoML. So this whole part here you can include, put under the umbrella of the AutoML. Monitoring is where we lack the most, and about retraining is also something that I'm still not full aware of how can we use the Qlik automations. But monitoring, you can be aware of what's happening. If your model is predicting, it's returning. I don't like saying predicting, but we just predict. So it's not predicting correctly the values. So you can monitor that. So and we see that later. You can use some of the Qlik features to capture those. Okay, this value is really bad, so you have to handle that. So that also one thing that I'm missing here is the versioning. So AutoML, you can keep different versions of it. So it's not as powerful as deploying this, not deploying, submitting your change to a GitHub. It's not yet available for in AutoML. And even automation, you cannot decompose your AutoML to store the versioning in a GitHub, but it has its own version control, so you can keep different versions of it. Good. So let's move forward. Okay, and this is one internally, some of the features that includes on AutoML. So I think it was interesting to put here in this part, so we see internally how those some of those things are covered by the AutoML. So AutoML facilitates a lot the MLOps part of it. So we have the feature selections, the data set. So the data set, we expect this to be ready, and we can, like I said, we can prepare this with the Qlik application load script or even the scripts. You select the features to have the model generation, so the model tuning, model deployment, make predictions. So this is already when you start having the outputs. You publish and integrate with Qlik Sense, explore predictions in what-if scenarios, take informed action. So this part here is 100% how can you consume it. Again, you can support multiple data sources, and then you can use in different things. So like self-service analytics, dashboards, alerts, app automations, mobile analytics, embedded analytics, and reports. Okay. So that was just a short introduction. I didn't want to spend much time on this because there is this too broad team. So I'm just trying to narrow down what is the the most important components of MLOps, and how can we use Qlik platform to cover all those principles. So, and then now you talk about Qlik application automation, and you'll be a quick introduction of what is Qlik application automation and how can we apply that to MLOps in some part of it. Yes. So let's speed up here. Okay. So Qlik application automation, what is it? So Qlik application automation enables dynamic action through analytics and integration workflows. So if you don't know what is automation, this is a hard way to see it. So some of the characteristics of the automations. It's a no-code development. You can add some code there. You can enable that, but it's mostly you don't need that most part of time. So broad SaaS connectivity, you can connect to a large number of connections with many different SaaS services. So it's native to Qlik Cloud. Dynamic automation triggers, so you have multiple ways to trigger an automation in the central management. So you can centralize all your integration inside one automation. So let's move next. And those are the 4 core scenarios covered by the automations. So we have the active intelligence in something they call analytics DevOps. So where you can automate most of the operations that you have. I use mostly of my automations here, where I can manipulate Qlik Sense applications and do app reloads. So if you're moving to Qlik Cloud, you probably will start with the app reload. So you need a lot of that. We have operations also use that a lot to export apps, promote apps, or move apps from different spaces. Or when something happens, I can generate I just create a version of this application GitHub. So it's a very common scenarios here. And then you have the active intelligence. So dynamic action triggers. So initiate data-driven workflows, respond to data-driven actions. So that pretty much means you can respond to some change in third partners services. So if I have a Salesforce thing and something happens there, yeah, you can call your automation to do some sort of action in your Qlik platform. So you can combine different services. So it's very flexible in the way how we can call this the automation. This process integration, automate SaaS application integration. So they are kind of related, those things here. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, how do I create a Qlik application automation? So inside the Qlik view, you just have the add new button, so where you can add all your assets, and then you see a button there, an option, new automation. So just click there, and then you can select a template. So there are lots of templates. You will see different categories here. So if you don't know how to start something, for instance, I don't know how to reload apps in parallel or reload apps in a task chain. So if you don't know how to start, or just need a quick start, you select one of those templates, and then you have all the boxes set up for you. And if you I'm quite comfortable, I know what I'm doing, there's no template, you can start from scratch. Okay, and what are the components of the automation solution? So the application. So on the left side, you have different connectors. So you have not hundreds yet, but maybe close to it. So we have all these connectors like Qlik Cloud Services, Qlik Reporting, Qlik AutoML. You have Microsoft Excel, OneDrive. You see AWS stuff, Azure connectors. So for instance, you have a Azure S3 connector, so you can process something in your flow, and then get the output and store a CSV file or some sort of data file in your S3. So this, you can do this here. You have the blocks. So every connector have multiple blocks with different actions. That depends on the blocks you have. So this is how you can connect one block to another. So you always have the start block where you select the kind of how you run your block. So it can be manual. So you just click on the run button, and this will start your automation. You can do schedule. So let's say every morning you run your backup process to backup your Qlik applications in a given space to GitHub. So you're just making versioning. And then you have the webhook. So something happened in your Salesforce or any other cloud services that you have, and then that you call an application automation in Qlik, or even, okay, every time I publish one application, before publishing it, uh, create a version or backup version of this application, or create a backup version input in a different space. It's, you can do whatever you need here. So it's very flexible to do it in many different ways. So having this, how can you use this with the MLOps and app automation? So there's a connector there to consume the deployment of the MLOps. So Qlik AutoML. So during your flow, so let's say you collect the data, you transform your data, and then you can call the deployment you have from the Qlik AutoML, process it, and do some other actions, including analyzing the output of it and say, hey, this data is getting out completely wrong. So you can send alerts, or even if you have a subscription, you can see, oh, these days are really off. So you can put this as a part of your automation process. So this is you trying to automate part of it, part of your process, and getting close to the perfect world of the MLOps with all the features implemented at once. Moving next. So the Qlik application automation, it's very scary when you start using it. And it's so many connectors, and you can do so many things that it's easy to get lost. So don't be afraid of that. And so I'm saying don't fear it, just use it. So it will give you so many options, and it will make it, your process and your flow so much more powerful. That's really worth understanding it. And you can integrate with anything. So just start playing with it, explore it. So it's very good. You're not going to regret it. All right. So now going to our final slides, Igor.
Okay, so that's we're almost on top of the hour, so I'll be really quick. So if you are, please leave a message in the chat. If you are going to Qlik Connect next week, first let's find us. We are both going. Let's connect, pun intended, and make sure to attend to our session. So we IPC Global, we have two sessions we presenting both on Wednesday. So at 11 a.m. Ana Silva and Hugo. So you should take that slide. Hugo Andrade, they were talking about zero downtime migration of QlikSense, which combines AWS and other stuff. It's a pretty very interesting application. And I am presenting how we can use Qlik in science research at 2 p.m. also on Wednesday. And also, IPC Global has a booth at the conference. So our booth number is 706, is on the right side. Super easy to find. So we just visit our booth and see what we have to offer. Continue on some words of our sponsored. Actually, not this. Where can I find resources to learn? First one, help.qlik, the Qlik documentation, which is include talent now also. It's really good, so I really recommend it. Qlik community, you have questions, or you also can find articles. It's a really good location. Qlik Nation also is a pretty good place.
And fun.
Yeah, it's really fun, and they have like the challenges, and you earn points, and then you can exchange points to some rewards. It's pretty fun, Qlik Nation. And learning.qlik, and now they're integrating the Talent Academy with the Qlik Learning. Now it's becoming, it's almost complete, the integration one platform. So the Talent Academy and Qlik Learning, they listed at two separate things, but then I think maybe in less than a month they'll be fully integrated. And as I mentioned before, Marcos and I, we're starting a blog. It's called Data Voyagers. So we have like some videos, we put videos, some text, some like blog posts. So make sure to visit and favorite, bookmark it, the Data Voyagers.
There is also the YouTube channel, Data Voyagers.
Data Voyager YouTube channel as well. But if you go to the blog, every time we post a video, that we'll post in the blog. So that could be also your central location. I just posted like minutes before we start a video how to do Monte Carlo simulations in Qlik. That was fun. So, and now, if you like to learn IPC Global, we have a pretty interesting learning platform called IPC Global University. It's not only for Qlik, but it's mostly for Qlik. And as part of the platform, we also organize events. Like we have twice a month, we have the expert sessions. We just had one yesterday. Which is pretty interesting event to learn new stuff. We also have the game nights once a month. We have our next game night will be on end of June. It will be Qlik's Room. That would be really interesting. We have Jeopardy, we have trivia, we had all the interesting games for our students.
I'll join this one for sure.
Please do. And we do have like two subscription based. We have two types of subscription. If you split that by month, it's actually pretty cheap. So we have a gold subscription and platinum subscription. And the main difference is that within the platinum subscription, now we have a partnership with Udemy. So you also have access to over 10,000 courses in Udemy Business through the platinum. Now, if you want to know more, contact us. And for this meetup, we'll have like a special promo. If you contact us about it, and if you show interest, you get free access to our Qlik intro course. The Qlik stands for business user. You get free access to our next expert session, which is June 12th, which is Qlik Sense new features. And also invitation to our next game night, end of June. And if you want to subscribe, at the end of June expires that promotion, but we also give you a 10% discount. How can I contact you? Just email education@ipc-global.com or contact one of us directly, and we'll direct you to the right location. Now, our next event, we don't have a specific date yet, so make sure to register in one of the 4 meetup groups: Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, or Portland. But it will be in August. It will be online. So those two information we have. And it's about Qlik language capabilities. This one, it's pretty interesting. Now, final questions, comments?
And thank you for joining, everybody. This is very
Absolutely.
important. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining. This really helped us to spread the word, help us on our statistics at the end of the day, and it's a great incentive to keep doing this. And if we if we get enough traction, we'll do additional events more specific, like one for just like deep dive automations or AutoML or other things, or even other things that are old, but people
Yes.
are like set analysis. I don't know. You guys tell us. But we need to have enough traction, so we'll be worth to organize other events.
Yes.
All right.
So this video will be in our channel, and if you have any questions, so you can find us on LinkedIn, Qlik Community, Qlik Nation. So we are always around. So just send a message.
Just look for our names. Yeah. When he said YouTube channel, is this exactly YouTube channel you are right now? So we have this Qlik Meetup Alliance. Or Meetup Alliance, Meetup Alliance channel. So it's where when you have these joint events with all of the cities, instead of creating one channel for each city, we just create one for all of the cities. So you find more content there in the future. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all.
I guess that's
Thank
all.
you for coming.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
See you in connection.
See you next week, hopefully.
Yes. Qlik Connection.